you very much, Lizzie, for having me. And good afternoon to everyone who has taken their time to join us today. My name is Mayoor Patel. I'm founder of Polio Children, as well as various other charities. And I've been doing this for the last 25, 30 years. And today's topic is creating a Corpus fund. Actually, this topic goes very much with fundraising, but it's good in a way. It's been split up because it's a tricky one. But rather than doing any theory, I thought I would share with you all what we actually did and what we actually do with the different charities that I've set up, or my family, my fellow trustees have set up. And the first thing that I say to people is, in our board, we want people who are who have belief and passion in what we're going to do. And they commit their own money to it first. Okay, this is the way we did it. I'm not saying you have to do this. And by the way, I'm going to go through a list of points, and just make a note if you think, well, I want to know more about that. Then I'll be able to share with you afterwards, or you can get my details from Lizzie or Amber or Casey. So let's say when we started Polio Children, we said, right, how much belief have we got? How much passion have we got? Are we prepared to drop everything to do something about this? And, how far do we want to go with this? So initially it was because my eldest brother has polio, and my other brother's a doctor. And between the three of us, we thought, I thought global. My brother thought, the one with polio, oh, we found this project, we want to help. Only that one. And my medical brother thought, actually, it could go anywhere. So from just under 25 years ago, we started, and officially, because before that we were doing it in a random manner. So we registered the charity, we put our seed capital in, and from the beginning we decided nobody is going to be paid, and therefore all the running costs are paid by the founding trustees. So following that, I would say, if you're a small charity or whatever, however big, once you get your passion in place, you give seed capital in there, get yourself registered for gift aid, especially in the United Kingdom. We're very unique in this sense. And get yourself registered with Benevity, because you don't know who's working in which corporate, and they need charities on that list. The little bit of legwork that we did, unfortunately, I came from a profession where we had contacts with solicitors, accountants, will writers, not funeral directors, but I've got that down. IFAs, very important, IFAs. Get in touch with them, share your passion, share your data, and see if they can have you as one of the charities that either they support or they recommend to their clients. Corporates, probate practitioners, schools, especially private schools. I went to a private school, nothing wrong with state. I didn't know anything about state school, but there are also state schools who are very good at fundraising. I've got on my list Big Give, universities, foundations, and trusts. I'll give you one little example. There's a Lancaster Foundation trust, only for Lancashire. It clearly says on their website they will not fund you. And they still invited us. And I said, there's no point in coming to see you. Anyway, cut the long story short, doesn't matter, come and see us. And then next thing, they wanted our bank details. I said, what for? You're only going to ask for the money back. Nope, we like your work, we're going to fund you. Okay? So please don't give up on it. And whilst you're doing your charity work, collect from the beginning, have a mission that you will have. You'll collect the data from start to finish. You will get photos for, our standard is get a photo of before, during, and after. So wherever the project is, whoever's reporting, prime them to do that. It only has to be one page, no more than that. Photos speak louder stories than even Mayoor Patel. So once you got that data, and you got your clips and photos, you find your emotional drivers. And it's those emotional drivers, be it, in our case, it was polio children, so disability. It was children, that's another one. And then the board focused, although not officially, unofficially, more on girls. Yeah, because you educate a girl and you educate a whole family. You educate a boy and what do? Nobody? Fine. My mother says, you will never find out. She had 4 boys and 2 girls. So, you know what? I believe her. Um, the other thing that I would also say is put your um, just see the work that you're doing and see how it aligns with the United Nations SDGs. These are the Sustainable Development Goals. So only last week I happened to have a little session with my team in Uganda, and they shared something very powerful with me, which and be careful by what we mean by sustainable. Sustainable for who? This was a question put forward by the president of Uganda to our team. So, a little bit of thinking to do there. And then feel free to put those SDG icons on your correspondence, on your newsletters, on your website, it's everything that you can think of, because this is going to come handy down the road. So if I'm almost halfway through, am I halfway through? Yeah. So once you've done that foundation, you've got you've got things in place. How do you start this Corpus fund? So in our case, with one of our charities, with all of them actually, we the founding trustees put in a little bit of seed capital. Okay, not every charity has this privilege or opportunity. So if you don't have that, the next thing is, remember I said get in with the solicitors, IFS, funeral directors, and things like that. Legacies, especially legacies that are non-specific. So we had a call some time back and said, oh, so-and-so funeral directors, can we have your bank details? I said, funeral directors? And you know what? They advised somebody to send a non-specific legacy to us. So you have a choice, anything that goes into the general fund. So the next thing I've also got after that, if you got gift aid. I know some charities say, but we don't get a lot of gift aid. Look, you as a board have to decide whether are we going to use the gift aid for admin, or are we going to use the gift aid to pass it down to the beneficiary, or are we going to take some of that and invest it? Okay, so I did that with a charity I was advising, and they said, oh, there was lots of to and fro. I said, listen, don't do anything. It's up to you. The bank is giving you less than 1%, and I'm showing you something where you're going to get 7%. It's up to you. So, and there are, I don't want to get carried away here, because at this junction, I normally go into all the different funds and different investment houses, etc., that charities can comfortably invest in. But that's something up my sleeve if you want to know. The other thing I've got after that gift aid also is, when we go to earn, we're told, here's your income, earn and save. Yeah, the principle of earn and save. So we work, we earn, we save a little bit. Okay. So I had to do this with a couple of charities where they said, we don't have income. I said, well, do you have donations? Yeah. Do you get grants? Sometimes, yeah. Okay, that's your income. Treat it like a business. So from day one, we treated all our charities like business. The only difference was you don't get paid. So there was a paradigm shift here when they started thinking of their donations and grants, and they said, well, donations or grants and save. You take a little bit and save it. Okay. So if you save that little bit, and I'm not here, I've had 2 types of charities that I've advised. One where they were just adamant, we're going to keep everything in a deposit account. I said, up to you, but look, here's a smaller charity than yours, and they've invested theirs with whatever it was, MNG Charity Fund or whatever, and they were raking in almost double-digit figures. Now, how does this work? You would have to have a commitment from day one that if you're going to go down that route of drop by drop, drop by drop, you fill an ocean. In our language, we have a saying, patre patre par. Brick by brick, you build a wall. I'll give you an example. I happened to, many years ago, I happened to have a chat with Dr. Ivan Meisner. He's the founder of BNI, Business Network International. I think some of you will have heard of that. And I happened to be at the conference there, and they said, oh, we've now reached our goal after 10 years of putting money aside for the foundation. And let's say they reached $100,000. And they made the first scholarship, and they made a big thing about it. $200. 10 years to get to $100,000, and they made a first scholarship of $200. So again, you strategize with your team and say, you know, how long are we in it for, and what do we want to do? So that was one example. I'll give you another example of where sometimes I get charities saying, oh, but you know what, we are in it for this and we need all the money to do this. Have you got one specific project for which you need a corpus fund? For example, our education fund. See, we don't want to go to sponsors, donors every year and say, oh, we've got a shortfall. Oh. So once we say we're going to pick a kid and take the kid through a primary school or secondary school, we aim to make a provision for that. And you can actually turn that into a fundraiser. You can turn into a big give opportunity. See where I'm going with all this? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm going too quickly, but I can do one of two things: is just tell you a few bullet points and leave the rest in abeyance. But I might not be invited again to do this. So there we go. So I happen to be with the board of a charity in Bangalore, started by ladies. Very powerful because no disrespect to gentlemen here. Women are in a class of their own. They started with a fund, and any funding you are prepared to offer to them, you can be specific, but they first they get you to aim at their general fund, their corpus fund. You can donate. You want to educate a girl? Yep, donate. Because that's what we do. They educate girls and boys of tribal people who live out in the wild, in the sticks, people who mostly they're laborers. They build roads and railways or whatever it is, and they live there. And then they move with their kids to another spot, so they don't get education. But there is an incredible model where the whole show is run on the boarding school and women empowerment, several projects, 4 major projects, all from a corpus fund, from the income generated by the corpus fund. Okay, so I thought that was, and I think this one I left it to last because when you do something good and you've got your clips, you've got your brochure, you've got a story, you're passionate, you're committed.
Hi, this is Amber here. Just to remind you that you've got a matter of about 60 seconds now for your next speaker.
You've just taken some of my time, my dear.
Listen to.
Okay.
So I hope you enjoyed the first session, and now you should be thinking about moving on to the second speaker.
Thank you very much. So you invite your sponsors, funders, donors to visit your project. Let them see it for themselves. And I've had situations where I've refused money that's been given to me because I know the guys are loaded. Go and see my project. They've come back and they've put another 0 or 2 zeros on the figure they were going to give me. Last but not least, the best of it all, you are all passionate about your project. Test yourself by doing the 3-foot rule. Anybody who gets within 3 feet of you, tell them what you do. Ask them for help. I will cut it there so that I don't get told off by Amber.
Thank you so much, Mayoor. That was.
You're all on red. I don't know if you heard anything I said.
Thank you very much for sharing from your experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody had an immediate question that they wanted to bring to Mayoor, or whether you wanted to put any questions in the chat box, and then we can do questions afterwards. If you do have an immediate question that you know you'll forget as you listen to Steve, then please do unmute and speak now. Otherwise, we can collect some questions in the chat box and look at that at the end.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I don't think there's anybody who's unmuting for that, but like I say, do put any questions you've got in the chat, and I'm going to hand over to Steve now. Thank you.
Hello. I'm hoping you can see a presentation.
Not yet. Now we do.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm conscious of the time, so I'll make a start. Conscious as well, my technology is not working here, so please excuse me. Okay, a bit to start with about who are, what we are, where we work. I represent a small charity called Operation Sabre. We were founded in 2012. We're registered with the Charity Commission and also signatories to the International Red Cross Code of Conduct. We work out in Romania, predominantly taking fire and emergency aid, but we also do a lot of humanitarian aid work in Romania too. We work in the Transylvania region of Romania, and predominantly, not exclusively, but predominantly in the counties of Mureș and Bihor counties, which are in the north of Romania. Who with? Well, we work with a number of what you might describe as ethnic diverse obviously the Romanians, the Hungarians, as Transylvania originally belonged to Hungary up until the end of the First World War, the Roma, the Saxons, and more recently the Ukrainians. There are over 5 million Ukrainians in Romania at the moment as a consequence of the war. What we do, well, historically, it was taking fire engines out to Romania. I say historically because that stopped when Boris Johnson, 5 years ago to today, introduced Brexit. So we've had to adjust as a small charity to meet the demands or the challenges of Brexit. So during that period, up until then, we'd taken out 46 fire engines, 9 minibuses. The minibuses have been quite a recent addition to ferry Ukrainian refugees from the borders to places of safety, and ambulances. We've also donated over 2,000 sets of firefighter uniform, helmets, boots, etc., etc. We do a lot of work now in terms of fire safety, fitting fire alarms, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors in orphanages and residential care homes throughout Transylvania where we work. Our real passion, though, is the people, be it the young children, the young mothers, some mothers as young as 12 in child protection units, the elderly, the infirm, and children. So over the years, we've supported literally thousands and thousands of Romanians and others. But what I want to focus on at the moment is our work with military soldiers, and in Romania, the professional fire service is a detachment of the army. We've worked with the army from day one. They act as our hosts and our interpreters as when we go to Romania. And some time ago, they said, could we support them with training in addition to all the vehicles and uniform we supply them with? That started with fire investigation training, which is quite well done in the UK. But they also wanted to know about incident command. So we've arranged a number of one-week courses in Romania to teach them how we work together between the fire, police and ambulance in the UK, and we do this by way of floor models. The UK approach to working together is JESIP, the Joint Emergency Services Interoperability Programme. It's been in situ for over 20 years, and it's essentially a common language, common techniques, common protocols between the three emergency services, underpinned by a lot of documentation, training, and aid memoirs. So with the fire service, you now have a gold, silver and bronze command structure, which is universal across the United Kingdom, and a very similar approach across the ambulance service and the police service. It means that the three services can operate together at either bronze, silver, and gold levels. When we tried to implement this in Romania, our expectations didn't meet reality, and we couldn't work out why this was happening. We were presenting them with exactly the same information as we used in the UK. They were seeing 4, we were seeing 3, and we thought, how can this be? It works in the UK, it works in Strathclyde, it works in Kent, but why doesn't it work in Romania? And all down to national culture. And national culture can be defined as the nose on your face. Everyone else can see it apart from you. And the eminent Dutch psychologist Geert Hofstede, who sadly passed away 5 years ago at the age of 91, was fundamental in developing cultural dimensions. He developed and implemented 6 measures in which you can measure national culture. I could spend the rest of the week going through these. I don't have time, but I would urge you to look at Geert Hofstede's website for more information. But essentially, it's power distance, collectivism versus individualism, a nation's appetite for uncertainty or risk, whether the nation is masculine or feminine, its long-term orientation, and restraint versus indulgence. So if we were to put the United Kingdom and Romania on Geert Hofstede's scales, you'd see on a lot of those dimensions we're polar opposites. So in terms of the first one, power distance, Romania is incredibly hierarchical. Everything is controlled from Bucharest, or the decisions are taken in Bucharest, with no autonomy or power devolved to the lower levels. Whereas in the UK, it's quite the reverse of that. Autonomy and power is devolved down to regions, counties, be it metropolitan or rural, and town councils. To give you a summary of those dimensions in respect to, in the UK, we have quite a low power distance index. We prefer equality at the lowest level, whereas in Romania, it's very much hierarchical. The power is held in Bucharest. The UK is very individualistic, whereas Romania is very much a collective society. We don't mind risk in the UK. Romanians don't like ambiguity. They don't like uncertainty. In terms of traditions and planning, the UK is quite short-term focused. I think if you look at a lot of the government plans for national infrastructure, you'll see that short-termism, whereas Romania is very long-term. And then finally, the UK is indulgent, fun-loving, whereas Romania has an attitude towards self-discipline. In the UK, as an illustration, if you take the Queen's the late Queen's celebrations, or if England get through to a national football competition, the country celebrates, the pubs stay open longer, the shops stay open longer, and we celebrate. And it's great for the nation. In the Romania, if that was to happen, there would be a suspicion a coup was going to take place. Huge mistrust. So from a perspective of the charity surviving in Romania, a key cultural pointers would be in terms of politeness and formality. They love respect, formality, punctuality. You should never, ever be late to a meeting in Romania, particularly where the army are involved. Personal relations matter a lot. Trust is key. As I say, it's very hierarchical, and you have to respect the hierarchical. And when, from my perspective, when I'm working, I have to deal with the lady or the man at the top. If it's in a village, I have to deal with the mayor. I can't deal with my partner first and foremost. That goes against their culture. Hospitality and gift giving. It would be an offence to turn up at a meeting in Romania without a gift. It's not a bribe, it's a gift, and it's part of their culture. And they always reciprocate that. They hate it if you talk about communism and Ceausescu. They hate being stereotyped to that period in their history. And they prefer it if you dress professionally. As a charity, we're a uniformed charity because of our roots in the fire service. albeit the majority of our members are retired, including myself, but they like professionalism, and they like us to keep our uniform on almost 24/7 when we're there. So to bring it to a close, I've tried to be quick and conscious of the time. I'd ask the question out to you: how do you manage national cultural diversity in your areas of charitable work to achieve better development? That's a question I'd like to leave you. But before that, let me leave with these words from Gert Hofstede, who said, culture is more often a source of, sorry, I can't say all conflict than synergy. Cultural differences are a nuisance at best and often a disaster. My advice to you would be, take note of the national culture whenever you're dealing with any country overseas. Go to Gert Hofstede for advice, his website, and prepare yourself for it. Thank you for listening. That concludes the presentation from the Southern Operation.
That's great. Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your experiences and in particular recognising cultural differences in the area that you've been working. That's really helpful. We did have the question of who you were referring to, but you've mentioned that you've quoted them again at the end there. So it's Gert Hofstede. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dutchman.
So
Hofstede,
a couple of people in the chat just asking who that was so that they could look it up themselves. So that's really helpful. Thank you. Is there any other questions that we have for Steve? Anybody who would like to ask a question, put one in the chat, or you can unmute yourself to ask a question now.
Steve, sorry. Thank you so much. That was really fascinating. What we did to try and overcome cultural differences is employ a local person to be that kind of buffer in between, because we recognized that actually, I was getting it wrong more times than not. So employing a local person to act as that buffer really helped. And they could explain to me what the things were. But you're right, recognizing the culture is so important, because we can easily make big mistakes. Thank you for reiterating that.
Thank you.
If I can jump in, I had just a comment to make, Steve. Very interesting your remarks about Romanian culture, and I'm picking up one where you're saying that they like rules and procedures to be clear. And I've been involved in tuberculosis advocacy programs for civil society across Europe and Central Asia. In other words, the ex-USSR countries plus Bulgaria and Romania. And that is, for me, that what you describe is real, but I put it down as being in part a reaction to the way in which the communist societies were organized. And and they have a much greater desire to see things formally legalized than we do. I'm forever being hit by I work for an organization where we have our secretariat in Kyiv in Ukraine, and I'm forever being hit by them wanting to formalize a memorandum of understanding or an internal document that specifies who does what, at times when really in Britain we wouldn't have even thought of bothering about it.
That's true. If I can respond and give you a very quick anecdote on that. On my very first visit to Romania in 2012, we took 4 fire engines and donated them to the Romanian communities. And I sat in a solicitor's office to do the paperwork, hand over the V5 documents for the fire engines. And the solicitor said, "Where's your stamp?" And I said, "What do you mean stamp?" He said, "To stamp the documents." And I said, "We don't have a stamp." He said, "We can't accept the fire engines." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You have to have a stamp." He said, "That's Romanian law. That's our procedures." And I said, "You're joking." And he said, "I'm not. You have to have a stamp." So I had to phone back to the UK. They had to mock up a stamp and fax it across to pretend that the documents have been stamped in the UK. That was a learning point. We now have a stamp, and everything, every item, every donation we make is accompanied with a stamp on a document in triplicate. It's part of their culture. It's part of their hierarchy and their zest for rules.
Mayoor, thank you for your presentation also, and for your support personally. Can you explain? I'm not quite sure what iFace is. Something I've never heard of.
Sorry, did you say that again, please?
I was just saying that I hadn't heard of iFace, and I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about that, what that is.
As in iFace, as in iPad, or it's a bit of mischief I do. Was it part of my talk?
Yeah, well, you just talked about iFacing, and I wasn't quite. I was wondering if that was a website, or is that just talking to people, face-to-face type stuff?
No, I'm lost. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Well, not to worry then.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We do have another couple of questions in the chat. One for you, Steve. We found your talk fascinating, and the analysis between Romania and the UK was really interesting. Somebody wondered if whether that was something that you developed, or whether it's, you can gain that information, and whether there's anything that compares India to the UK.
Yeah, if you go on, if you Google Gert Hofstede Cultural Dimensions, there's a number of websites that come up, and you click on the countries you want the evaluation done on, and it will automatically produce the graphs for you. So whether it was India versus the UK, or Pakistan versus India, or you could pick several countries and it will produce those graphs for you. It's free, it's available. Yeah, it's there. The graph I showed you, it was this morning. It's changed slightly from when I first looked at it a couple of years ago, so it's constantly being monitored by the Gert Hofstede Foundation.
It's me again, Amber here, just to let you know that you should be kind of drawing to a close from your second speaker, and then you have the remainder, the next half an hour, for questions and networking. Enjoy.
That's great, Steve. Thank you. That's really helpful, I'm sure, for many people in the room. Also, I had one more question that came up on the chat for Mayoor, and then what I'm going to do is finish the recording, and then we can chat freely and network. So Mayoor, the other question that I had for you is, what is the best source of information about potential donors? Do you have a place that you go to source that information about potential donors?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Not really, but I know there is a directory of trusts and foundations, and I'd have to dig it out, or I'd have to source that. There's also in London, there is the City of London or Corporation of London, a list of trusts and corporates that that entertain donations. And there is a proposal for, I don't know how far it got, for corporates of different sizes, it doesn't matter, small, medium, large, who have a clear CSR attitude, to enlist on a platform. That was work being done some time back, but I don't know how far that got. If it helps, when we started, we were fortunate that, okay, I was in practice, so I had an audience, I had the clients, and I had all the contacts that we did business with. But one of the simplest things I've seen is done by a small charity, where they just, well, the trustees made a list of people that they were going to, all their friends, family, they were just going to inform them, we're doing this, not ask them for anything to start with. Who do you know? that would be interested in helping us? Who do you know would like to be part of this? Who do you know? It's nothing like asking for help. And before you know, you'll be rolling. Now, money might take time to roll. I hope that helps.
That's great. Thank you, Mayor. We're going to stop recording now. That helps us to speak freely within the group. So I'm just going to press